What if the very thing that makes us human, empathy, is actually our greatest weakness? From childhood, we've been told that compassion is the highest virtue, the glue that binds civilization together. Empathy is painted as the force that makes us kind, selfless, and humane. But what if that story is incomplete, or even dangerously misleading? Could it be that empathy, the very trait we celebrate as humanity's crowning jewel, is also the blindfold that leads us into irrational decisions, societal decay, and emotional exhaustion? Today, we'll confront this uncomfortable question. Is empathy truly a virtue, or is it, paradoxically, the silent force holding humanity back? Empathy feels noble. It feels right. But feelings can deceive us. And like any powerful instinct, empathy has a shadow side. It can blind us, it can be exploited, it can weaken societies. The paradox of empathy is this: the same instinct that unites us can also divide us. The same feeling that inspires us can also manipulate us. And the same compassion that uplifts us can also destroy us. In this exploration, we'll look at empathy as a blindfold that distorts reason, a weapon that manipulates emotions, a force of decay that weakens societies, and finally we'll ask, is there a way forward? Can we refine empathy into something more resilient, something guided not only by feeling, but by wisdom? To guide us, we'll call upon two great thinkers. First, Friedrich Nietzsche, who saw pity as poison, a weakness that drags humanity downward. And second, Peter Singer, who offers a modern alternative, effective altruism, a way to care not with blind emotion, but with rational compassion. So let's dive in. Let's strip empathy of its halo and see what lurks beneath. Empathy feels like a moral compass, but often it doesn't guide us to truth, it blinds us. Psychologists have long observed a troubling bias known as the identifiable victim effect. Put simply, we care more about one crying child than about thousands dying in silence. Show us one face, a single story, and our hearts open. Show us statistics, faceless suffering on a massive scale, and we look away. This bias leads to wildly irrational choices. We pour money into saving one life on the news while ignoring cheaper, more effective ways to save thousands. Empathy isn't rational. It's selective, biased, and short-sighted. Consider disaster relief. Whenever tragedy strikes, a hurricane, an earthquake, billions are pledged in emotional frenzy. But research shows much of this aid is misallocated, wasted, or even harmful. It creates dependency, fuels corruption, or disrupts local economies. Why? Because we gave out of raw empathy, not out of rational strategy. Philosopher David Hume believed morality springs from sentiment, and his contemporary Adam Smith argued sympathy is the basis of society. But both admitted sympathy is partial. It favors the near and the visible, the familiar over the distant. Empathy is not universal, it is tribal. And this is dangerous. If empathy is our guide, then our moral vision narrows. We privilege the immediate, the emotional, the visible, and we neglect the long-term, the abstract, the systemic. Paul Bloom, in his book Against Empathy, argues that empathy is like a spotlight. It illuminates what is in front of us, but leaves everything else in darkness. And what we see in that spotlight is often not what most needs our attention. Imagine a government crafting policy based on emotional pleas instead of long-term reasoning. Imagine entire societies making decisions not on evidence, but on sentiment. In many ways, we don't need to imagine. This is the world we live in. Empathy blinds. It makes us short-sighted. It can turn morality into theater, policy into performance, and compassion into chaos. But blindness is just the beginning, because empathy is not only flawed, it can be exploited. If empathy blinds us, it also leaves us open to manipulation. Con artists know this. The classic scam email often contains a sob story, a sick child, a desperate widow. Entire fraudulent charities thrive on tugging heartstrings. We give not because it's wise, but because it feels wrong not to. Cult leaders know this. They exploit the natural urge to belong and to care, demanding sacrifice for the sake of the suffering family. Once empathy is weaponized, it becomes a lever of control. Politicians know this. Campaign ads show them hugging children, comforting the vulnerable, promising to care. But behind the curtain, empathy often serves as a smokescreen for power. And when empathy is manipulated, it bypasses reason. We stop asking, is this true? Is this effective? Instead, we feel, and then we act blindly. But there's another dark side. Empathy doesn't only exploit us, it exhausts us. Caregivers, nurses, aid workers, those who constantly bear the emotional weight of others' suffering often experience compassion fatigue. Over time, empathy drains them. They become numb, detached, cynical. When you feel too much, you begin to feel nothing. This is what Nietzsche saw with brutal clarity. For Nietzsche, pity is poison. In The Antichrist, he writes, "Pity stands opposed to the tonic emotions, which enhance the energy of the feeling of life. It has a depressing effect. One loses strength when one pities." To Nietzsche, pity doesn't uplift the sufferer, it drags both down. It glorifies weakness, prevents growth, and spreads suffering like a disease. A culture built on pity, he warned, is a culture that chooses decline. Modern psychology agrees in part. Empathy can create paralysis. Faced with endless suffering, we shut down. We become spectators of pain, unable to act effectively. So empathy is not only flawed, it is dangerous. It can manipulate us, drain us, weaken us. But if empathy corrodes individuals, what happens when entire societies build themselves on unchecked compassion?
What happens when empathy is not just a personal instinct, but a cultural ideal? At first glance, a society built on compassion sounds noble, but excessive empathy has hidden costs. It silences truth, erodes resilience, and creates dependency. Consider the silencing effect. In cultures obsessed with feelings, hard truths become taboo. Criticism is softened, warnings are muted, uncomfortable facts are buried. To spare feelings, we sacrifice honesty. But without truth, there is no progress. Nietzsche saw this as a symptom of decline. Societies that elevate pity over strength smother greatness. They reward weakness, punish boldness, and slowly rot from within. History offers echoes. The Roman Empire, decadent and softened, lost its resilience. Machiavelli, centuries later, warned that rulers who govern by compassion alone invite ruin. And Hobbes argued that without strong rational order, human passions, including pity, lead to chaos. In modern times, we see policies crafted more for emotional appeal than long-term strength. Welfare systems designed from compassion can sometimes foster dependency instead of empowerment. Universities, eager to protect feelings, may stifle open debate, breeding fragility instead of resilience. Empathy-driven politics often feels good in the moment, but fails in the long run. It prioritizes comfort over challenge, emotion over reason, appearance over reality. The cost? Societies that cannot face hard truths, societies too fragile to endure hardship, societies slowly corroded by the weight of their own compassion. Empathy, unchecked, doesn't just blind or manipulate, it weakens civilizations. So what now? Do we abandon empathy altogether? Or is there another path? Nietzsche's answer was clear: overcome pity. He believed true strength lies not in drowning in suffering, but in affirming life, embracing struggle, and seeking growth. Pity, he argued, enslaves us to weakness. Strength frees us. But Nietzsche's solution feels cold, even brutal. Can humanity thrive without compassion? This is where modern thinkers like Peter Singer offer a bridge. Singer does not reject empathy outright, he refines it. He argues for effective altruism, caring not through raw emotion, but through rational compassion. Singer notes that empathy leads us astray. We give to the child on TV, but ignore the millions dying of preventable diseases. We react to the immediate, not the impactful. Effective altruism asks us to step back. Where can my resources do the most good? What action truly reduces suffering? For example, $3,000 spent on a single guide dog in the West can instead fund thousands of malaria nets, preventing dozens of child deaths. Raw empathy pulls us toward the guide dog. Rational compassion directs us toward the greater good. This is empathy transformed, guided by reason, not blinded by it. Even Buddhism echoes this idea. Compassion, in Buddhist thought, is most powerful when paired with detachment. Feel deeply, but act wisely. Care without drowning. The path beyond empathy, then, is not apathy, it is balance. Nietzsche warns us of pity's poison. Singer shows us a way forward: rational compassion, effective altruism, detached benevolence. The challenge for us, then, is not to abandon empathy, but to transcend it, to feel, but also to think, to care, but also to calculate, to combine the warmth of the heart with the clarity of the mind. So let me leave you with a question. Is it time to reevaluate one of humanity's most cherished virtues? Is empathy truly our saving grace, or is it the blindfold slowly leading us toward the cliff? Perhaps the real strength of being human is not how deeply we feel, but how wisely we act.